Yo, what's good, YouTube? Back again with another review. I know. We said we were gonna upload weekly. That never happened. I'm not gonna lie. Some shit happened. Some guys went to college. Some guys were just at the crib. But we're back and ready to make another review. This one will be a great episode. I can't lie. All right, so today we will be reviewing one of my favorite shows of all time, Sonic X. And this episode is a pretty good one. We see Shadow make an appearance, Knuckles, Rouge. It's a great episode. All right, so boom. The episode starts off with Shadow just being on bad timing for no apparent reason. And then he just says that Cosmo is the traitor for some reason. But I don't really know where to go from there. Shadow just be moving on his own timing for real. Then we see Chris try to come save Cosmo from Shadow like he's ever going to do something. And I just hate Chris because what are you doing being Captain Save-A-Ho? Shadow, obviously not trying to hear all this, shoots some key blasts at Chris. And then my goat, Sonic, comes saves the day, per usual. He then asks Shadow, why is he doing all this? And Shadow doesn't respond because he's too cold for that. And then they just start running at each other and fighting. But when they started fighting, they kind of just hit each other and started staring into each other's eyes. It was kind of weird, to be honest, and I kind of skipped past it. But then we see Shadow cook Sonic. This nigga bounced off two walls and flew behind him. Sonic wasn't even looking at him the whole time. It was kind of crazy to see.
Tails then asks Cosmo, what happened? Cosmo was saying that Shadow was just saying a bunch of random stuff that she didn't really understand. While they're yapping it up, Shadow starts walking through the smoke like he's Batman. Tails realizes and starts dipping with Cosmo as he shuts down the ship. We then see Shadow, walk through the door somehow, and then we see Chris and Sonic packed out on the pavement. Me, personally, if I'm the main character of my show, I'm not letting this happen to me. That's just me though. It then cuts to Chris and Sonic on a hospital bed. I don't know who picked them up, but I guess we'll never know for real. We then see Knuckles going to hawk down Shadow. Amy is telling him to go focus on Cosmo and Tails, but Knuckles was not about to take orders from her. I don't blame him for real. While Shadow is looking for Cosmo and Tails, he gets interrupted by Knuckles.
But this nigga Shadow could not take Knuckles serious because all he did was smile at him. We cut to Tails and Cosmo in the vents, and Tails again wants to be Captain Save-A-Ho because why is he telling Cosmo, oh, I won't let anybody touch you? I can't take this nigga Tails serious. We then see Shadow shoot some key blasts at Knuckles, and Knuckles is kind of weaving it, already doing it infinitely better than what Sonic did. But as soon as Knuckles even gets close to Shadow, Shadow flash steps away and throws a key blast at the pipes, creating a Genjutsu where Rouge appears in front of Knuckles. He low-key cooked them. As Tails and Cosmo get to the ship, Shadow appears out of nowhere. This nigga low-key moving like the Terminator right now. Tails and Shadow then start going back and forth, and Shadow tells Tails, either move, little nigga, or you're gonna get beat the fuck up.
Then cuts over to Rouge and Knuckles, and Rouge is trolling him like she always does. And basically, Knuckles tells her to call Shadow. Rouge then calls for Shadow's name like at least 10 times, and Shadow just didn't respond. That's when we see that Shadow is currently walking down Tails. This is when Tails has the audacity to tell Shadow to back off or stop him himself. I don't know who Tails is feeling like, but this guy got in front of Cosmo and started talking crazy. Bro, this is not your bag. Shadow had the same idea as me. This guy tells Tails straight to his face that he's way too powerful, and Tails' response is to say he has the X tornado.
So, they got KD, but we got Jaden McDaniels.
That's when the X tornado starts having some Power Ranger Samurai transformation scene. It does all of this just to get one shot by Shadow. This is when Shadow decides to aura farm. Keep in mind, he's had at least a good 10 seconds to move away from the ship, but he decides to move away last second. Keep in mind, Sonic's sorry ass has been sitting in the hospital bed the whole time while his whole friends are getting packed out. My goat Ichigo could never do this.
Somehow, Tails and Cosmo managed to get away from Shadow, and we can't really see it, but Shadow might have gotten hit by the ship when he destroyed it, but we really don't know for real. We then see Tails go up this weird elevator thing, and he's just flying at this point, but I swear he's flying at 2 miles per hour because this nigga Shadow jumped 50 meters off vert and is dodging lasers. Thankfully though, Tails was able to shut the door and do some strategic maneuver to somehow close it. He thought it was clean. It really wasn't. But then Shadow just runs through it. And when I mean run through it, this nigga Shadow turned into a ball and destroyed the door and some of the ceiling. But thankfully, we have Knuckles to save the day. Somehow magically though, Knuckles catches Shadow and throws him at the wall, which I still don't really understand, but I kind of have to talk about how Tails this whole time has just been getting saved, and he's the one supposed to be saving Cosmo. I just want to point that fact out. Shadow then recovers from the rubble, and he asks Knuckles, "Do you really want to fuck with me, little nigga?" And Knuckles says, "I've always wanted a Shadow box." And to be honest, this is just a pump fake of hell. Because we then see this nigga Shadow one tap Knuckles so bad, this nigga gets the wind knocked out of him and he's knocked out. We then see Tails and Cosmo running for the 50th time, and Tails proclaims that they've reached a dead end, and then he proceeds to make a right as Shadow breaks the wall down. So this nigga is just a pathological liar at this point. As they get to the elevator that spawned out of nowhere, I'm gonna just have to put this clip in because this might be one of the coldest entrances we've seen in the past couple of reviews.
Please hurry! Shadow will catch up with us soon!
Sooner than you think. I do have a reason. But I won't tell you what it is.
So at this point in the episode, Cosmo has just given up because Shadow is Mr. Hawk 'em down right now and catching them wherever they go. And she finally asks the question we've all been wondering this whole episode: why are you doing this, Shadow? And then he then responds, "Oh, I do have a reason. I just won't tell your bitch ass."
This is when Shadow starts yapping, saying like, "You can't beat me and you can't keep running." This is when, for the 30th time this episode, Tails tells Shadow he won't let her near. This is when Tails pulls a lever, and keep in mind, this door is going down so slowly. If Shadow was a real demon, he would just walk into the elevator, but instead, he lets it close. While the door is closing, instead of Shadow like going to the door to stop them, he tells Tails, "Do you really think a door is gonna stop me?" This is when Tails decides to respond with, "Maybe you're not as strong as you think you are." Keep in mind, Shadow has packed out both Sonic and Knuckles at this time, so I don't know who Tails is feeling like. Door finally closed, and Shadow has a big grin on his face. He then says this is gonna be too easy and tries to throw a blast at the door. He then gets insta karma for not going into the elevator like a normal person, and the blast goes straight back at him. This is when we find out that Shadow was spinning in some Sonic cannon thingy, and turns out it was set up by Tails. Tails then says, "You fell right into my trap. You are not Yagami." And that's when Shadow gets sent into space. It then cuts over to Rouge and Knuckles. I don't know how Rouge found where Knuckles was at, but it is what it is. Rouge asks where Shadow is at. Knuckles then explains that he's long far gone into space. But Rouge said they made a big mistake because Cosmo is the real enemy. It then cuts over back to Cosmo and Tails. Pretty much, Cosmo apologizes for all the trouble she's caused, but Tails says no worries because she means so much to him. And the only thing he cares about is her being safe. And look at the grin that Tails had while saying this. She is not gonna let you crack. Also, side note here, I low-key didn't realize this as a kid, but there is so much like romance going on in Sonic X, bro. Like if I wanted to watch a rom-com, I would just turn on Snafu or literally any anime. I did not watch Sonic X to watch some cross relationship species romancing. I'm good. That's when they start walking together like it's some happily ever after. And that's when Shadow appears.
That's when Tails decides that he's gonna be Muhammad Ali and fight this nigga Shadow, which might have been the worst decision because this nigga Shadow just punches him to the side and he gets sent flying to the stairs. As we see Shadow approaching Cosmo, this nigga Tails goes back for round 2 and jumps on this nigga's head, trying to grab at his eyeballs. This nigga Shadow throws him off his back into the stairs once again. Once we think that Tails is actually out for the count, Shadow is about to kill Cosmo, and this nigga Tails grabs his ankle and starts using Talk no Jutsu. He's trying to tell Shadow that if he kills Cosmo, he might regret it in the future. Like Shadow will ever give a fuck. We then see that the glass of the ship has now broke and everyone's getting pulled into space, but of course Mr. Captain Save-A-Ho strikes again and he then pulls Cosmo back into the ship. A bigger ship then, I guess, parks next to their ship. I mean, it's in space, so I don't really know what to say about that. But some nigga just starts yapping about Cosmos being a spy or whatever. And I didn't know this. I guess it's a great reveal. To be honest, it was pretty anticlimactic. And then apparently it was like some Gios situation where now she has to listen to every word and report back to this alien society. To be honest, I never expected this out of Sonic. This was kind of a random episode. It was pretty funny though. Tails was just annoying. I'm not gonna lie, and that's my take.
Episode then ends with all of them getting teleported. Overall, I think it's like a pretty good episode. I mean, Shadow was crashing out for most of it. Sonic was so sorry. Had like 2 minutes of screen time. Well, he has Tails. Tails out of all people talking crazy. I mean, Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys want us to review any other anime or cartoon, let us know in the comments. And we'll catch y'all next year.